everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and today I'm going to be starting a new project. New project, new year, 2023, here we are. I actually recorded another whole thing, intro to this, and there was evidently some massive work being done somewhere in the building or next door. And it's so loud that even canceling out, like doing noise reduction, canceling of outside, it's so loud you can barely hear anything but the jackhammer. So New York City, and I evidently didn't notice. I'm talking away and, and there's like a jackhammer in the background. So, okay, so I'm doing the whole thing over. So there are a couple things happening in this video. The first thing is I want to show you the new project, right? Because I feel like new projects are both terrifying and exciting and pretty simple in the beginning, right off the bat. So I thought I'd show that. And then I thought I would show where I stop and where the fear kicks in, which is kind of like, oh no, what now what, And the second thing is that it's a piece that I started, it's a monoprint that I did when I was staying with my friend Pat Pauley. I'll put the link for her. She's an incredibly talented, fabulous artist and teaches workshops. She does her own hand painting, hand dyeing of her fabrics, and then she creates these amazing works of art from them. Anyway, I did a monoprint, and so it's a very different kind of piece than The Beast, which was piecing a whole bunch of hand-painted pieces together and then kind of blurring the lines and then adding layers and painting on top and then adding fabrics and different materials and then stitching. And this is really going to be a different process, or at least already it is, because it's one piece. So I'll show that. And then what I do when I get scared, and I feel like I see these videos and people are just kind of seamlessly, doing this beautiful piece, and then they're adding these different layers, and it all feels so easy and fluid. And then there's like this finished piece and it's, beautiful, and you're thinking, wow, that's amazing. That's not my process at all. My process is filled with angst and fear and stopping and starting. And so I thought I would, do that. Part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut between the other intro and this one. So every time I start a project or start thinking I'm going to start something, some other thing hits me and I just feel crushed, like really crushed by whatever it is, or it's taking up all my time and I can't, whatever, this is life, right? So there's just been a lot. And here's my motto for 2023. It's not mine. It's actually Pete Holmes. Do you know Pete Holmes, the comedian? Hilarious. I'll put his link. He has a Netflix show, went 3 seasons, called Crashing. Really wonderful. Love him. He has a book that I've got called Pete Holmes, Sex God. It's hilarious as well. Anyway, his motto is yes, thank you. To whatever happens, death, horrible things, yes, thank you. And that's what I'm going into 2023 with. Yes, thank you. Let's see how this works for me. Because I feel like when things get tough, it's easy to feel angry and resentful and annoyed and irritated and impatient and all those things. And it's really hard to dig deep and find the love. But the truth is that death is such a reminder of how much one can love. I mean, you feel grief because you love that being that has just died. And so, yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to love so completely. Thank you for the time that I had with this being. Whether it's an animal or a human, it doesn't matter. It's thank you. Thank you for this time that I had with this being that means so much to me, that resides in my heart. So, yes, thank you. This is the page I'm currently working on. This is the page that I was working on before, and I feel like it's almost done, if not done. So this just needs to dry, and I'll add some stitching and other stuff to it. And then I can start on the next page. There isn't a lot of writing on these, so I can, I was 12. So I can, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's what I'm doing there. I just want to scroll up so you could see. Here's my Murdy. And I have another photo of him over here. Right there. I love this photo. It's one of my favorites. Isn't that great? With his little claws out. He subsequently shredded that couch. We had to have it recovered. And then he left it alone after that. It's like he'd done damage and that was it. So I'm going to start working on something else now, I think. Sort of in between. I have to do something else because this, I do a layer, I need to let it dry, and then I can come back to it. So I'm going to start working on a piece that I began when I was visiting my friend Pat Pauley. And so I've got to move some stuff around to set it up. But here is my fabric that I painted with Pat at my friend Pat Pauley's house when I went to stay with her over the summer. And this is the big piece that I finished. And I've done a video about that, so if you want to see, you can see that video. But this piece, I have grommets that I then covered, and I show you how I did that. And I'm going to take that down because it's against my design wall, and I'm going to push these over, which are like actually on sleeves on curtain rods. I'll push those over so I have a bigger space, and I think I'll push my desk over. And then I'll start working on this other piece. So I'll film that when I start that. All right, so there it is. That's the piece I'm going to start working on. I feel like there's lots of nice movement over here, and I can expand with other stuff over here. This actually is not on linen. As I was doing this massive week-long dyeing at Pat's house up in Rochester, at some point she looked at me and she said, "So why are you doing this on linen? Because linen's so much more expensive. Why not just do it on like canvas?" And I'm thinking, yeah. So we went to the art supply store and we found like linen for, I think it was like $2 a yard or less. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I bought a bunch of it, like 20 yards. And this was one of the pieces I did, just a big monoprint on it. And yeah, so I'll just start playing around with that and see where it takes me. All right, I have this up, and I just started to, with one of my Molotow acrylic markers, I just began to add some very broad kind of ideas of how I wanted this to continue, because the monoprint is only here, and I want to make use of this edge here. I also started to pull out colors that I was just kind of playing with. So I have this kind of gold, I have some brown, I've got this kind of green. This is from Painter's thread. It's a pretty heavyweight linen. This is a burlap, a kind of olive burlap. This is one of Pat Pauley's hand-painted linens. It's a lighter weight. This is a velvet. I've got some corduroy here. I've got another painter's here. I've got some more, that's a low immersion. That's not a linen, that's a linen blend. Maybe some red, I don't know. That's kind of nice. So I'm just playing around. And here's the thing. People show them these videos where you see them working and maybe they'll speed it up and you see them just sort of putting stuff and then they're painting and then they're adding and then they're, going on and then it's finished. And you think, wow, that's so cool. Like it was so sort of flawless. My process is more in fits and starts. So I do this and I think, okay, that's okay. But now what am I doing? And then I come like full stop and I get into almost a panic, like, oh my God, now, what do I do now? And what if I put the wrong thing? And maybe I'll make a mistake and, all of that. So I thought I would show that, so here I am. And now the panic kicks in. So what do I do next? I don't know. I have no idea. But I'll just do something, right? So I'll show that. I'll show what I do next. But it isn't like I went from this and then I do the next thing and then the next. And it's all just of a piece and it's like, whew, done. No, that's never been my process. Very rarely. I'm not that lucky. Or maybe talented. I don't know. One of the things I do when I'm feeling fearful about some project is I go to something else. So this is my little art journal and I'm doing some free motion stitching here and just kind of letting the threads hang. And I put on my free motion quilting foot because I was getting just a little nest of horrors back there and I thought, why am I doing this? I could be doing it free motion. So I changed to that and I might change the threads and do some more in here. I don't know. But this is what I work on when I can't cope with the other bigger piece. And then I'll just kind of go back and forth between the two. So now I'm going to go back to the big one and see what's going on there. Well, my plan was to work on this and do something. And as fear set in, I found this piece that I had started a long time ago. And so I just started to sew some of that down instead. So that the big piece will have to be continued in another video. And, this is what I do. I go from one, I have several projects going at once and I just work in them and then, I'll do some more here and then I'll maybe get the courage up to work on that piece and then maybe I'll work on the art book and who knows. So this is my process and maybe some of you can even relate. Thanks so much for watching.